Have you ever tried so hard not to bother anyone that you slowly disappeared instead? This is the story of a man who moved into a new apartment building, determined to live quietly. He thought the worst thing he could do to his neighbors was make noise. He was wrong. He didn't move in with boxes full of dreams. He moved in with 2 suitcases, an old computer, and a guitar that had seen better days. New city, new job, no friends. The apartment complex wasn't terrible. It was just ordinary. Beige walls, narrow hallways, thin doors. The kind of place where you could hear someone sneeze 3 units away. When loneliness felt heavier than the furniture, he would sit by the window and gently play his guitar. For a moment, he felt less alone. Until the first knock came. A neighbor, polite smile, tight jaw.
ちょっと静かにしてもらえます？
はい。すいません。
ギターとか弾いてます？うるさいんですけど。へったくそだし。
そうです。弾いてます。もう弾かないんで、すいません。
He apologized immediately. The next day, he stopped playing entirely. Problem solved, right? Apparently not. Because then came a new complaint. The sound of his computer keyboard is too loud.
キーボードの音うるさすぎません？ガタガタガタガタ、もううるさいんだよ。
でも、すいません。
Now, realistically, it sounded like every old computer in existence, a faint mechanical hum. But in a building built on thin walls and thinner patience, even air seemed suspicious. He started typing more gently, closing doors more slowly, walking more carefully. It's funny how quickly a person can shrink. There's a strange thing that happens when you try not to disturb anyone. You begin to question your right to exist. Was he walking too heavily? Breathing too loudly? Living too noticeably? He stopped inviting sound into his space. No music. No late-night movies. No laughter. Silence became his compromise. But silence doesn't erase loneliness. It amplifies it. And then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. He was walking home after work, hands in his pockets, mind elsewhere. That's when he saw someone familiar, the neighbor from next door. Not alone. There was nothing dramatic, no shouting, no confrontation, just an interaction that didn't match the image of the perfect couple everyone assumed they were. A moment too intimate, a glance too careful. It wasn't a scandal. It was simply complicated. He paused, not out of judgment, out of curiosity. Then he kept walking. Because what do you do with information that doesn't belong to you? A few days later, there was another knock on his door. This time, it wasn't about noise. It was the husband next door. Polite, calm, slightly uncertain. Have you noticed anything unusual lately? The question floated between them. In that second, he understood something. The walls in that building weren't just thin physically. They were thin emotionally. He could speak. He could hint. He could interfere. Instead, he chose something unexpected. He chose neutrality, not because he didn't care, but because he finally understood. Not every truth needs a messenger. "I'm sorry," he said. "I haven't noticed anything." And that was that. He realized something profound. He had been trying so hard not to disturb others, that he had allowed himself to be disturbed instead. But for the first time since moving in, he didn't feel small. We spend so much of our lives trying not to inconvenience others, but there's a difference between being considerate and erasing yourself. So the question isn't, are you being too loud? The real question is, have you gone silent for too long?